was about 20 years ago when Kat and I first came to Sayulita. We were just tourists back there traveling with Dave and Anthony. And I remember in an old VW. It was a wonderful trip, but there are a lot of people that retire here too. It's not just tourists. So today, that's what we're going to be talking about. We're talking to Lori, and she is retired here in Sayulita. So let's hear her story, hear how she ended up here, where she learned Spanish, and take a tour of her home. So let's meet Lori now.
Hey, I'm Lori, and my husband Paul and I retired here in Sayulita, Mexico 5 years ago now, January 2021.
Let's start out the story where I like to start, which is before moving to Mexico, before retiring in Mexico. What was it that got these guys here to Sayulita?
My husband and I have always loved Mexico. The culture, the food, the people, the language, just we feel at home here, and have traveled a lot throughout Mexico. My husband was fortunate enough to live in Guadalajara as a child with his family when his dad was an expat. And then we lived in Guadalajara in the 90s, also as expats, and our daughter was actually born there. So we have a Mexican citizen daughter. We like to say we crossed the border the other way to have a baby. So we always knew that Mexico would be a part of our retirement and a part of our future. I was fortunate enough to stop working full-time in January of 2021, and we headed to Sayulita.
So my question then is, why Sayulita specifically?
We first came to Sayulita in 2008 for spring break with our children. My husband was convinced at that point this was the place. I needed a little more convincing. In 2016, we each worked remotely from Sayulita for a month and really got to try out living here. And what made it easy to work here was, well, first of all, the Wi-Fi connectivity is great, but also the Puerto Vallarta airport has direct flights all over, especially the western part of the U.S. So if we needed to pop somewhere for a meeting, we could do that. And after 2016, we knew this was the place for us. I think the thing we love most about Sayulita is it's still a Mexican town. The main plaza every night is filled with Mexican families. There's adults socializing, children playing tag, practicing tricks on their skateboard. There are Mexicans who have taco stands and who have boutiques and who have hair salons. And, it's very much a Mexican town with a fair number of expats, retired or working remotely from here, sprinkled in. So it's a really lovely mix of cultures, and we feel like it hasn't been overtaken, I guess, by a culture not original to this place.
So Sayulita has definitely grown since we were last tourists here, but it still feels like a Mexican town. It's not like Cabo, it's not like a whole bunch of condo towers or something like that, although I have seen some condo towers going up. So let's hear the difference between being a resident here and being a tourist here.
So resident versus tourist, the resident community is really tight. You can't go 10 feet down the street without seeing someone you know that lives here at least part-time, half a year or all the year. People get really involved. There are lots of ways to give back to the community and be involved. So the residents are very involved in doing that. As residents, we don't, we're not at the bars till midnight every night or 2 a.m. every night, like, people who come down here just to party are. We go to dinner parties in people's homes. We have memberships to gyms or the pickleball club or, things where you go regularly as a resident that you might not do if you were just here for a week or so. But I'd say the biggest thing is just, your neighbors, the other people who live here, the people who own the businesses, and you really don't go far without seeing a friendly face and having a, good morning, good afternoon conversation with somebody. We cherish this community. I think it's pretty special.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of both here and in San Pancho this morning. I could tell who the local foreigners were, who were just kind of seeing each other in the coffee shops and saying hi. And I definitely was jealous of that. As a tourist, I could see how it would be really nice to be part of a community here. So let's hear a little bit more about how Lori and her husband Paul stay busy specifically for them.
There are loads of ways to be involved, giving back to this community, and that's one thing that we do that fills a lot of our time. The organization I work the most closely with is called Azul Sayu, and that is the environmental conservation organization here in Sayulita. It's a legal nonprofit registered in this state of Nayarit. And what we do is we run the recycling program for this community. The recycling program removes 3 tons a month of waste out of the waste stream, and it's diverted from trash piles and from landfills, and it's recycled instead. We only recycle things that are actually processed and recycled right here in Mexico. Nothing gets shipped anywhere. We don't recycle things that can't actually be recycled here in Mexico. That organization also does education in schools. We do monthly beach cleanups. We work very closely with the government and the garbage company, an umbrella nonprofit here, to work on trash containment and where to locate trash dumpsters. And, you know, trash in a growing community is a problem. We're not getting any smaller, and so we're trying to encourage people to use refillable bottles and not plastic, and then to recycle everything that they can.
So I'm actually heading down to the beach for a drink after this, and I noticed that the place on the beach, they charge you 10 pesos for a biodegradable cup, or you can bring your own cup. So I think that's just wonderful that we're not just adding more and more plastic into the world. But let's continue on with other ways that these guys volunteer.
There's an organization called Sayulita that's been around for about 25 years. They're an umbrella, kind of like a community foundation here in Sayulita that has memberships, and they then donate their funds to different efforts happening in Sayulita. Their big focuses are also trash, water cleanliness in terms of ocean water, proper sustainable development, and beach safety. They do a free lifeguard training about every month or 6 weeks, and they've also placed defibrillators at certain places on the beach. So that's another really great organization that's really impactful here. They were the catalyst and the lead organization behind a new water treatment plant that was built here maybe 10 years ago. So they've been involved and active for a long time. Animal rescue and spay and neuter organizations. There are organizations that help women, Mexican women, with issues of health, or those who are survivors of violence or assault. There are children's organizations. There are indigenous organizations. Whatever your passion is, you can find a way to help and get involved here. And I'm sure I'm forgetting loads. So
definitely retirees getting involved in nonprofits is a really big thing in Mexico in general. But let's hear what these guys do to keep busy outside of the world of nonprofits. So
Sayulita is a really healthy, fit community with people from all ages. That's a big reason we love it, is that there are, you know, people living here in their 20s because they love the surf breaks. We have a left and a right break. And there are people, you know, retired here in their 80s who love it because they can stay active and involved. So, and everything in between. A lot of the ways we stay busy are physical in nature. Huge yoga town, huge surf town. We don't surf, but we love to watch. There are pickleball facilities here. There's hiking. We are in the northernmost jungle in the Americas, is here surrounding Sayulita. So just steps away are these gorgeous jungle trails with palm fronds and vines and strangler figs. So hiking is a big activity here. There's a golf course about 20 minutes away, if that's your thing. There are great hills here, and so even just hiking the hills is a great way to stay active and busy. And then there are gyms, several gyms, and trainers, and so people can do a lot of weight training and endurance training and that kind of thing. So definitely it's motivated me. I never did yoga until I moved to Sayulita. It really motivates you to be healthy, being here amongst so much fitness and so much healthy living.
It is definitely motivating to be amongst the beach crowd. That's why I had my acai bowl for lunch today. So it is, yeah, I feel like it would definitely improve my health to be in a more active community. I mean, La Paz is active, but this just seems like, I think there's so many more young people here. It just keeps you a little bit younger. But let's switch gears now and talk about this house. I see that we're sitting under some solar panels here, but maybe we can start with the front door and get a tour of the house.
This is pretty much it. It's a living, dining, kitchen. There's not. And then down here we have a bathroom with a sink currently being replaced by a plumber. A guest bedroom with a door into the bathroom. This is our bedroom. And then maybe my favorite room is we put in a big master bath.
Ah, very nice. Oh, I love the mirror.
Thank you.
The edge.
Okay, this is actually, if you're gonna film in here, let's do, because
Oh, yes.
when it's not this hot, we normally have these entirely open.
Yep. I love these doors that open all the way and you can just hear the waves. But it is a little hot today, so the AC is on, so we're going to close them.
Where we sit for morning coffee to watch and listen to the waves. And this is our party rooftop. So this is where we entertain mostly and just hang out, catch some sun, watch the ocean, look for whales. And it's a great spot to have dinner and have friends, and we can gather a lot of people up here at once, so we love it. And this is our half bath, which makes it easy when you're entertaining so people don't have to go down the stairs.
So we've been doing this interview on the rooftop here with the gorgeous view and the waves in the background. Just an amazing place. So let's talk numbers though, because I know you guys always like to hear the numbers of what these guys paid for it and what they continue to pay for in condo fees and anything else that Lori may want to share.
So we paid $305,000 US for this condo in 2018. We've put quite a bit into it. There was nothing on this roof. For example, it was just a roof. So the walls, the solar panel, the bathroom, the wet bar, we added all that. We expanded our master bath. We blew out a wall actually to expand our master bath. And then I guess everything else has been decorating and updates. Our HOA fees are 18,000 pesos a quarter. So about $1,000 a quarter. Electric, we have 16 solar panels above us, so we pay 60 pesos for our electric because which is just the base fee to be connected. So we pretty much generate our own power year round. Taxes are really low, like a couple $100 a year, which is shocking. And water is a bit more, but I don't know that number, to be quite honest. We think the property is worth $650,000 or $700,000 based on sales that have happened nearby. We don't plan on ever selling, so our children will just have to deal with owning a property in Mexico someday, hopefully in the very distant future. But we love this location. We're here because we are a flat walk to town. Sayulita is very hilly, and our biggest requirement when we were looking for a home or a condo was that we have a flat walk to town and not have to have a golf cart or not be way up a hill.
Okay, so this is a long-term plan, but let's hear if this is a long-term year-round plan or a long-term part-time plan.
So this is a long-term part-time plan. We do go north to the United States during the really hot months, leaving generally near the end of April or sometime mid-May. And then we come back sometimes for Day of the Dead, which is really magical here. Sometimes not until after the Christmas holidays, just depending. So we're incredibly fortunate to be able to have a foot in both places.
Okay, sounds very similar to what Kat and I have in terms of going back and forth and following the best of the weather around. But let's switch gears again and hear about whether these guys speak Spanish.
Yeah, we're fortunate that we both learned Spanish before living here this time. So my husband spoke Spanish as a child living in Guadalajara. He's extremely bilingual. And then I learned Spanish in the 90s in Guadalajara. And it's really helpful and also not entirely necessary. Learning Spanish is actually a great way to meet people here and another thing to be involved in. So many of our friends are in group classes or private classes, or they'll go somewhere for a 3-week language immersion school. So it's kind of part of the adventure. But we were fortunate to have that ability before before coming here.
So let's switch gears again and hear about safety and whether Lori feels safe here in Sayulita.
I feel extremely safe here in Sayulita. I walk alone at night. If I'm out with girlfriends and I'm coming home by myself, we've never had any issues of theft or personal security issues whatsoever. It's a small community and people look out for one another, I think. And yeah, absolutely no safety concerns at all.
I'm just waiting for the moment when someone says, I don't feel safe at all, because every single person, when I ask that question, is like, yes, I totally feel safe. And that might not be what people who are watching this feel, but realistically, that is very common down here for foreigners to feel very safe in Mexico. But before we wrap up the video, I want to ask Lori for a tip that's just for you.
Okay, so I hope I can have 2 tips. Sure. And I don't know that these are specific to Sayulita, but really to relocating anywhere in Mexico or maybe even the world. And I guess first I'd say Sayulita is a town of many different neighborhoods, even though it's small. So some people like to live on the south side. We live on the north side. There's Gringo Hill above town and so many other neighborhoods. So I would say before you make a permanent decision, rent in a couple different areas to see what part of town best suits your lifestyle and is close to the things you want to be close to. And my second tip is, I feel like it's such a new experience, right? Moving to another country. So I think embracing the new is a really fun idea. As long as you're just throwing caution to the wind, learn Spanish, take an art workshop, take up yoga like I did. There's so many new things to learn and experience here, whether it's Mexican cooking or a new sport or activity. And I think leaning into the newness of all of it helps get over that personal sense of newness that might be a little anxiety producing, so just go for it.
Well, speaking of things that are new, one of the new things that I'm doing is offering tours of La Paz. So if you're interested in that, go to almostretiredinmexico.com/tours and check that out. Also, if you happen to find yourself in La Paz on a Sunday, I usually have some kind of Sunday night activity, usually a happy hour, so we can get together. Check out that on the Facebook group, Almost Retired in Mexico. I'll have the details there. Otherwise, from Sayulita, wish you were here. Hasta luego.